In this video, I'm going to show you a very cool opening idea, which was played in the game Andre Esipenko against Vincent Keymer in round 8 of the FIDE Grand Swiss on the Isle of Man. And it's not just a special idea, it's a novelty on move 8. It's a brilliant new opening concept leading to very exciting type of position, and we will see what's going to happen in this game. So make sure to watch till the very end. A lot of interesting concepts will be explained, and before we are going to go there, make sure to subscribe to the channel, of course. That's what I ask from you. I will really appreciate all your support. Now, let's have a look. Knight f3 is the first move played by Esipenko, and after knight to f6, there's the move c4, e6, g3, d5, bishop g2. So this is a very typical sort of Catalan structure. White could go for the move d4 very soon, trying to occupy the center, leading to the main lines of the Catalan. But White has consciously refrained from doing that. And, well, that gives also Black the opportunity to play here the move d4 himself. Black is grabbing space in the center. Now, after castling kingside, Black goes with a knight to c6. White played here the move e3 to challenge that pawn on d4. If that pawn would be gone, it will be possible for White to occupy the center himself later again. But Black played the move e5. Logical response, trying to maintain that pawn on d4. After e takes d4, we have an interesting moment, because this exact position was reached only a few weeks ago in the Russian Championship in a game of Esipenko against Katerina Lagno. But here, Vincent Keymer obviously had seen that game, and he decided, well, if this happens again, I'm going to advance my pawn to e4. I am attacking that knight on f3. If the knight goes away, let's say you go knight g5, there is knight takes d4. Black is sort of okay, having a beautiful knight on d4. That was played in earlier games, as well as the move rook e1 has been tried here as well. It's pinning the pawn on e4, but Black will go bishop e7. This is all okay for Black. But what had Esipenko prepared here? Look at this, guys. It's the move d5. He is ignoring Black's idea, setting up a counterattack against that knight on c6. However, Black captures on f3, and White cannot really take on c6 because Black continues capturing this time the bishop, and Black is a piece up. So White's idea is that after Black captured the knight on f3, White simply recaptures with the queen. He is sacrificing a piece. And what does he get in return? Well, he has two pawns and a small lead in development. The knight on c6 is under threat, and the knight has to be careful. If you go to d4 to attack the queen, it's queen e3 with a double attack. White is winning back the piece, so the knight has to go somewhere else, and there followed the move knight to e5, attacking the queen. White played the move rook e1, not moving the queen away at all, because the knight is now pinned. The rook is joining the attack, and Black goes for the move queen e7 to unpin the knight. And you see that Black is about to take on f3. Now it's allowed again. You have to be very careful with White. The queen gotta go away. But if you go to e2 to attack that knight one more time, the key move here for Black is to come in with a knight to d3, and you solve the pin, and you're attacking the rook. If you take the knight, the queen will capture the rook on e1. So that is not good. Therefore, the key move for White is to go back with the queen to d1. Very important idea, so that the queen protects the rook here. Now, Black played the move bishop g4, developing with gain of time, attacking the queen on d1. White played the move f3. And now if you would just move the bishop somewhere, White is about to play the move d4 and pin that knight on e5 to attack that knight which is pinned. So Black had in mind here to take with the bishop on f3. The tactics are not over yet. What is Black's idea? Well, if you take the bishop, there is knight takes f3 with check, hitting the rook. If you take with the queen, then the rook on e1 can be taken, and Black is a rook up. That's winning for Black. Now after bishop takes f3, the idea is to move the queen away. So the queen is giving a check, and whatever you do, if you block with a knight, or what happened in the game, there followed the move king d8, White's idea is here to play the move d4. So with the move d4, you're attacking the knight on e5. The knight can go away, because then the queen will be hanging. There followed bishop takes g2. So black captures another piece. Rook takes e5. You're attacking the queen. Now the queen goes to d7, offering the exchange of queens. Of course, white cannot do much because he also needs to be able to recapture that bishop in time. Queen takes d7 with check. Two possible recaptures, but of course black is going to take back with the knight so that it does attack the rook one more time. Now, if the rook goes away, black has time to save the bishop. So the line continues. King takes g2, knight takes e5, d takes e5. This is a moment to calm down and see what is happening here. White is an exchange down. He has a knight and a pawn against the rook, but he has definitely great compensation because these pawns are dominating the center and it's difficult for black to untangle. Like there are no open files, it will be hard for the rooks to join play in the near future. However, with a move like king d7, you can try to connect the rooks very soon. But Keymer, caught by surprise, was spending already a lot of time here. I think he was about an hour down on the clock. He played here the move f6. He wanted to challenge that pawn on e5, but this is, strategically speaking, a very risky move because white is advancing the pawn to e6. Look at this beautiful pawn formation. 3 pawns supporting each other. Black continues challenging that chain, and ideally, if you can remove this pawn and attack it with a rook, if the pawn on d5 falls, then very likely the pawn on e6 will fall as well. But white is very fast. White goes for bishop to f4. So he's planning to advance the pawn to d6. And then you have 2 connected passed pawns. So therefore c takes d5. C takes d5 and the rook comes over to the c file. So black is contemplating the idea of coming in with the rook with check. White plays here the move knight c3. So white is supporting very nicely these connected passed pawns with the 2 minor pieces. And very soon the rook in the corner will join the action as well. Bishop b4 played, intending to take on c3 twice, but the knight is going away. And the knight is doing very well on e4 because it controls the d6 square, enabling the pawn to come forward. Rook to c4, attacking the knight. And the king comes to f3 to protect the knight. Very important, but the line continues. There is this move, rook to d4. I think both players had been calculating this specific variation. Black is attacking the pawn on d6. Now, very important moment, and Esipenko managed to find the right continuation. But it's very important to understand that advancing the pawn to d6 looks very dangerous, but it's not good. Then black has the opportunity to attack the other pawn with the rook. If you advance the pawn to e7, these pawns are very far, but they are now blocked by the black pieces. And after rook c1, with the idea to enter with the rook on c7, black is ready to give back the material. Bishop takes d6, that's a fantastic idea. After bishop takes d6, you have the idea to eliminate white's attacking pieces, and eventually you take the bishop on d6. Next, the pawn on e7 will be taken, and black emerges with an extra pawn. So let's take it back. This is a very concrete line which had been calculated from afar by both players. And white, rather than advancing the pawn, started here with the move a3. This is the key idea, to attack the bishop on b4. And the bishop doesn't have many great squares where it can go to, because if you go back to e7, now d6 comes with tempo, hitting the bishop, and white will win more material. So black played here the move rook to d3 check, attacking the king. Where do you go? Well, there's this possibility to go back with the king to e2. And this was not played in the game. One interesting line is that, okay, now both the bishop and rook are hanging. You can take on d5, then you take on b4. And okay, black can try rook e8 with the idea to take on e6. White is better, but he needs to play very precisely with a move like bishop e3. And after rook takes e6, knight c5, you're consolidating your position, you're attacking the rook, and the black rooks are not able to infiltrate into white's position. This was not found in the game. There followed the move king g2, so the king goes into the other direction. So now the bishop is still under threat. Bishop a5 was played. Various options. You can advance the pawn, but knight d6 was played in the game. And I think it's a very interesting move because it's a huge knight fork either on b7 or f7, which is the main threat. If you go to f7, you're hitting both the king and the rook in the corner. Black may consider just to allow that with rook takes d5 and after knight f7, king e7, give up that rook in the corner. There are still ideas to go g5, to attack the bishop, to take on e6, maybe to come back with the rook. It will not be easy to let the knight escape from the corner, but white is definitely on top. However, they follow the move king e7. So the king joins play. It deals with both the threats of knight f7 and knight takes b7 with check. If you take on b7 now, there's this possibility to take with the rook on d5 and the bishop is defended. So that's not good. They followed knight f5 check. So the king went back to d8. Now it's knight d6 again. Do we get to see a repetition? King e7, knight f5, king d8. No way. White continues. The pawn advances. d6 and e6. There are two absolute monsters. Very difficult to deal with. Black play the move g5, attacking the bishop. The bishop goes to e3, attacking the pawn. Rook e8, attacking the pawn on e6. e7, king to d7. Bishop takes a7. Look at this very remarkable configuration of pieces. These pawns are fantastically supported by the knight. The knight is doing very well. It can no longer be kicked out by black's g-pawn. And if you try to attack that knight with a move like a rook d5, white can play here the move g4. And the knight is fantastically anchored on that square. And I don't see a way for black to untangle, to activate the rook and the king. These pawns are dominating the board. So in the game, black was really struggling to come up with a good move. Decided to give back the material. Rook takes d6, knight takes d6, king takes d6. Trying to win the pawn on e7 as well, but there follows the move b4, attacking the bishop. Bishop went back to c7, bishop to c5. The bishop is safe. It gives a check. It supports the pawn on e7, king to c6, rook to c1, king to d5, bishop to d4, attacking the bishop. So if you take the bishop as black, there's a rook takes c7 and it's game over. Therefore, rook takes e7 was played, but now white has transformed its advantage. He has given up both the connected passed pawns, but it's time to harvest now. There's this bishop capturing the pawn on f6, hitting the rook. After the rook goes away, you can even give another check first, forcing the king to go to another square, and then you take on g5. And on both sides of the board, white has an extra pawn. 2 pawns up, and the rest is a matter of technique, as they say. Bishop to b6, rook to b5, taking the bishop, bishop to d4, bishop to d8. Not the only move, but white will try to initiate more exchanges. Rook d7, bishop to b6. You want to get rid of that annoying bishop. Bishop went to e5. Black is not cooperating. Maybe there's a check coming up. So the king goes to h3. Black played h5. Rook to c5. So the rook is coming back. And after rook to d3, the idea is to play bishop c7. So you see that you want to trade off black's most annoying pieces. Bishop has to go away. But now the 5th rank has been cleared and the pawn on h5 can be taken. Rook to c3. Attacking the bishop. Bishop goes away, but after rook takes a3, black wins at least 1 pawn back. But after bishop c5, everything is well protected. Once again, black doesn't want to exchange the bishops. Bishop to e5, rook to h7, attacking the pawn on b7, which can no longer be defended. b5 was played, rook to b7, the pawn will be gone. King f3, rook takes b5, the rook goes away, and after rook a5, black had seen enough. Resigned here the game. Fantastic masterpiece. Just, you're trying to exchange the rooks here, but if the rook goes away, you can give a check. Very soon the king will become active and you can start marching either your b or your pawns on the king's side. So, fantastic game. Fantastic novelty, and definitely we will hear more about it in the near future. Let me know what you think of this game, and if there are any other games you would like to see covered on this channel, let me know, and I'll be back very soon. Bye bye.